when that happened, I told my husband, I said, I'm not comfortable doing any type of disciplining. I can definitely just let natural consequences happen, but I will not be disciplining, period, dot.
Right.
And at first he was mad. He was mad.
You're listening to the Nacho Kids Podcast, where we discuss all things step family related. Real stories, real people, real help. Your hosts are the creators of the Nacho Kids Method and the Nacho Kids Academy Step Family Coaching Team, Lori and David Sims.
I don't know how to start these since you won't let me go. David, oh, wait a minute. You don't not let me do anything. You asked me. Well, you didn't even ask. Yeah, what am I doing?
What are you doing?
I don't know. Hey, David.
Hey.
See, that works so much better.
Whatever.
How are you doing?
Doing as good as a Pontius wood piece of furniture.
I don't want to talk about the Pontius wood.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about you ordered a piece of furniture that
it says Pontius solid wood coffee table with storage.
Right. So we're trying to figure out, maybe listener land out there can help us. Nacho Nation. So we're trying to figure out, what is Pontius wood or Pontius wood or however you pronounce it?
Pontius.
So is it a type of wood, which Google says it's nothing? Is it a brand of something? We can't figure it out.
Because if you type the word in, it'll bring up furniture, but it may also bring up a pillow.
Yeah.
A
rug.
A
throw.
A fire pit.
Well, maybe it's a style. That could be it. It's a style of something.
Okay. Then there's your answer, David. Good job.
No, it's not my answer. I don't know what it is.
Neither does Google, which is scary. And I'm sitting here going, how am I supposed to find out if Google doesn't know? I'm on page 6 of Google.
Dude, there's a page 6?
On Pontius or Pontius wood, whatever it is.
I don't think people tend to click past the first page of Google.
No, they don't.
You went deep.
I did.
6 pages.
I was determined.
Oh, gosh.
So, needless to say, we got a new coffee table.
Yeah. And then you walk over there today thinking there's a piece of mud or something from the dog shaking on it.
And a piece of wood chips off.
And you rub it and a piece of whatever chips off. And then we're both looking at each other like, I thought this was real wood.
Yeah. I'm kind of a furniture diva. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Because my mom worked in a furniture store for years. So I don't buy cheap furniture. Or let me rephrase that. I don't buy poorly made furniture.
Right.
Real wood, metal on metal, sliders on the drawers or wood on wood. They need to be the same because they expand at different rates.
Yeah. So anyway, I obviously don't buy the furniture because I don't want to hear you bought the wrong thing.
Exactly.
So
the funny thing is I'm sitting in the floor looking at this spot and my son says, what are you doing? I said, trying to figure out what Pontius wood is. But then he acts like he knows what Pontius wood is.
Well, he figures if you don't, then he can say whatever he wants to. You're not going to know different.
But that's no different than my mama lying to me all the time when I was growing up when I had a question, because she did not have Google to back up her information. She just lied.
Did she?
Yes. She just made up crap.
But you believed it?
Yeah.
So does it hurt you more that it was a lie, or would it hurt you more to not know anything?
Hurt me more that it was a lie.
Yeah, because it's
I was
funny.
Deceived.
It's funny because there's been some things over the course of our marriage where
my mama,
you'll say something and I'm like, that ain't true. And my mama said it was, and then you'll go look it up, and you're like, oh my gosh, she lied to me.
Y'all, okay.
I'm like, you're 40-something years old and you just discovered your mom lied to you about something.
Either my ADD kicked in when I would read Humpty Dumpty, or my mom revised the book, because my entire life up until I was probably 25 or so, I thought all the king's horses and all the king's men put Humpty Dumpty back together again, but they didn't.
What did they do?
I don't know. They left him there, let him rot like a busted egg.
I think it's all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again.
Right. That's what I'm saying. She said they put him back together again.
Oh, see, she was just promoting teamwork and success.
Oh, that's what she's doing. But I remember reading the book. She must have marked out something, because
you remember reading it?
Yeah, I remember the picture. He's sitting on a brick wall.
Yeah.
And there's like these little people around him.
Uh-huh.
And he's all put together.
He's with all the cracks in him, right?
I don't remember him having cracks.
All right. So let's see. Yeah. I'm looking it up. Humpty Dumpty. Couldn't put Humpty together again. No.
She must have marked out the ENT.
Could not.
It's to say could not.
It says couldn't.
She must have marked out the N apostrophe T then.
Oh, interesting.
Or she marked out the whole couldn't, because I remember specifically all the king's horses and all the king's men put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
That's nice of your mom that she removed negative words from your vocabulary, like couldn't.
Yeah. You go, mama.
See, she's an awesome liar.
Okay.
That brings up an interesting topic.
Oh, Lord.
So I'm doing a little study the other day on the paradox of knowledge. I just thought it was interesting because, I'm all about studying that kind of stuff. But the paradox of knowledge being that, if I boil it down to just kind of my terminology, it would be, are you better off knowing or not knowing? And there are certain cases in people's lives where they have been better off not knowing certain things. And I'm not saying that you keep secrets from people. What I'm saying is, were you better off not knowing, for example, that someone treated you a certain way because they didn't like you versus maybe you thought they were just having a bad day.
Okay.
And so
you think you're around this person and they're kind of snotty and you think to yourself, oh, they're having a bad day, when reality is they don't like you. But you don't know that.
You don't know that.
Right.
Yeah. And let's just say that's not somebody you're like talking to every day or running into every day. It's just one, maybe a one-time occasion. So you carry on the rest of your life thinking that person had a bad day. You don't know none the wiser. Had you known the person just didn't like you, you might have had a very adverse reaction to them. I don't like them either. And you know what I'm saying?
See, I want the truth.
I'm not saying you shouldn't have the truth. I'm saying that's the paradox of knowledge, not truth, knowledge. And so sometimes it's better to have the knowledge that's there, and sometimes it's not. And there are times it helps you both ways. And that's what I'm saying. It's interesting. I see you're looking off into space, and that's just it. It's the paradox of it. That's why it makes you go, But the example it gave in the thing I was listening to was there was a young girl, and she was African American, and she had, and this has been years ago, but she played sports, and the coach was not allowing her to play and saying things to her that were discriminatory, but she didn't realize that at the time. She was just a young girl, wanted to play basketball. She didn't realize that the reason she didn't get to play was because of that. And it fueled her to keep getting better and better at basketball because she thought it was that she didn't have enough skill. So she ended up actually going into the WNBA. She was so good at basketball. And now years later, she looks back on it and she realizes that she wasn't allowed to play as a kid because of somebody else's discrimination toward her. And had she actually known at the time that's what it was, then she very well could have said, I don't want to play basketball anymore. I don't like the coach, forget all this stuff about basketball. And it would have completely changed the whole trajectory of her life. So the paradox of knowledge, sometimes it's good to know, sometimes it's good not to know, because how you handle that could drastically determine what happens next.
Well, maybe I'm just nosy because I want to know.
But it's interesting. It's interesting to really think about it, especially in the context of stepmoms. Because here's what happens sometimes. Stepmoms will hear, for example, they'll hear their significant other talking to the ex on the phone. And you have to ask yourself, is it a good idea that I know what's going on and what they're talking about because it's likely to make me mad and upset? Or is it best not to know and just carry on your merry way, knowing that your significant other will handle whatever it is in whatever way he or she sees fit?
And see, I look at it a little differently because it's not that I don't want to know, or it's not that I want to know. It's just irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. You're skipping to the part of, do I want to know or not want to know? What I'm just simply saying is, does the knowledge that you have about the situation, it affects you one way. The fact that you have no knowledge of the situation affects you a completely different way. And so often people say knowledge is power.
Yeah, like Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, knowledge is power. The paradox of it is oftentimes not having the knowledge of it is actually more powerful.
Okay.
So anyway, interesting for you listeners to think about because, sometimes, as they say, ignorance is not only bliss, but it can be powerful.
They say ignorance is powerful.
I'm saying it.
Oh, Lord. You know it's not true then.
I'm not saying people are ignorant for the sake of being ignorant. I'm just saying sometimes deciding that you don't want to know can often be freeing.
Okay.
Well, here's a perfect example. I'm going to keep, because you're looking at me crazy.
I'm thinking.
When I would have conversations with my ex early on, and you would want to know about the conversation, either whether you were sitting there listening or afterwards, you would say, what did y'all talk about? If the conversation was something that upset you because, she would say something and it would make you angry or whatever, then we started getting into a heated discussion about it, because sometimes it was, well, what are you going to do about it? And then you and I end up either angry, sometimes at each other, sometimes not, sometimes just at the situation. But when you didn't listen to the conversation and you didn't ask about it, and I didn't see a need to tell you about it, then both of us just went on our day and we didn't have to discuss it. We didn't have to have an argument about it. We didn't have any aggravation to stew over. So just think about it.
Okay. I'm going to think on that. It'll take me a while. So let's just talk about our guest today.
Okay. Who's the guest today?
Our guest today is Stepmom Kayala.
Hey, Kayla.
She's been blending for 3 years, has stepdaughter 7, stepson 4. They have them 50-50. She has bio son 10, bio daughter 7, and an our son 1. Her bio son 10 stays with his dad, and her bio daughter's dad is in active duty, so he doesn't have like a regular schedule with her.
Okay.
She grew up in a blended family herself.
And she knew what she was getting into.
And her dad was kind of pushed out of the picture.
Huh. That's interesting.
I asked her if she had any stepdads, and she said, yeah, a couple of them.
Well, as long as she didn't say she's got a couple of real dads.
Yeah. She does refer to her stepkids as her bonus kids.
Okay. I mean, I disagree with that statement, but it works for some people. And It's okay. It doesn't make it wrong just because I don't like it.
Really?
Only in this house.
Yeah. It's funny with all the kids, we were talking about how I used to count the kids.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did we bring anybody else?
I know we'd have to. Remember that time when we were leaving and like I was pulling out a driveway and we were counting as we were kind of backing the car up.
And we were missing a kid.
We were missing somebody.
Mason.
They were still in the house. I was like, oh my God.
Well, we didn't know if he went down to Mama's. We didn't know if he was in the house. I mean, it was a whole production to find this kid. But now, y'all, he wasn't a baby. He was like 12. He wasn't neglected. But she just says that her kids love ducks. So she does a duck line.
Oh, yeah.
And they quack.
Oh, do they? That'd be cute.
I said, does your older kids not look at it as, I am not quacking?
You like, quack me up.
Yeah. Like, no, we all enjoy it. So that's great.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things that they'll always remember, though.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's some things I did with the kids and they'll never forget it.
There's some things I did with your kids they'll never forget, too.
I used to take them to school every morning or when I took them to school. And I'd always act like, we were flying some kind of military plane and they had to dive out. So we'd come to the school and we'd get to close to the part where I had to drop them off at. And I'd act like I'm on some kind of PA system. And I'm like, prepare for rapid deployment. The LZ's hot. We're doing a halo jump, 50,000 feet. Whatever. And it's so funny because when the doors of the van would swing open, they would like literally jump out like they're parachuting. And so all these other parents and teachers are looking like, wow, they are so excited to be here.
Yeah.
They're jumping out of this van.
I mean, you had 5 kids tripping over each other to get out.
I know. Yep. And it's funny. And then every morning, we always had to make sure they had 2 things for when they got in the car.
Well,
book bags
and lunchboxes.
And lunchboxes. And
I thought you were going to say coats and belts.
No. So every morning I'd always sing this little song about book bags and lunchboxes.
I do remember the jackets and the belts were such an issue. I can't find my belt. I can't find my jacket. Somebody intentionally took my jacket.
Especially when everybody's wearing, the same kind of jacket.
Yeah, because they could only wear a certain color.
Yeah.
And when I went to the school to find one of Jackson's mini jackets that had gotten lost. And I went to the lost and found. I found like 10 of yours and my kids' coats. It was like, oh, there they are.
Yeah.
One thing I liked about what Kayla said is she puts herself in timeout.
I would enjoy putting myself in timeout these days.
I do. When I say I'm going to chill.
Yeah.
That's my
Isn't
timeout.
it funny though? Because like you're a kid, it's like, go to your room. You're like, no. And then you get to be an adult. It's like, go to your room. Yes.
Or when you were little, we're going to take a nap. No nap, mommy.
Yeah.
You get my age and it's like, you say nap?
You've been doing that for a long time.
Ever since I had Jackson.
Yep.
My sweet baby. I love taking naps with
You
him.
used to say, I got to keep him on his same nap time. I'm like, you just trying to keep yourself on the same nap time.
I'm telling y'all, I think I've said this before. I was a stickler for keeping Jackson on a schedule with, his naps, his feeding, everything, because I was not going to be the mama in Walmart with my kids screaming.
You did that one time. We were still dating. That was almost the end of our marriage before it even started.
Mm-hmm, because I told you my baby needed a nap. And I said, I'll drive separately. No. See, y'all, I was influenced.
And you know why I said no? Because I was trying to force the blend before it even happened.
That's right.
We'll all drive together like one big happy family.
And it went good down there. But on the way back, he was tired.
Oh, it wasn't on the way back. It was while we were there.
No, it was after we left. We were going to McDonald's.
Oh, maybe that was a different time. Which time was it whenever we went?
Adventure Museum.
And he ran away from you and was hiding behind stuff and you were threatening to kill him.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't remember if it's the same one or not, but he was off the chain.
But it's because he didn't have a nap.
No.
I knew my baby.
It wasn't because he didn't have a nap.
It is, David.
Because he was a hellion.
Quit arguing with me. All right, y'all. So let's just get to listening to Kayla because I need to go find my Nerf gun and shoot David.
All right. But first, a word about the Nacho Kids Academy, where you can learn how to deal with people just like me.
There is a way to save your sanity and your relationship, and it's called the Nacho Kids Academy. In the Nacho Kids Academy, you will learn the skills and knowledge to properly nacho, techniques to handle step family challenges, ways to improve your communication, and much, much more. Visit NachoKidsAcademy.com and sign up today to join other step parents who are seeing the life-changing benefits of nachoing. Again, that's NachoKidsAcademy.com.
Today we have stepmom Kayla. Hey, Kayla, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
Good. So tell us a little bit about your blend.
We've been blending about 3 years now, and we have 5 kids between the two of us, and we have ages ranging from 10 years old to 1 year old. So it gets exciting.
Wow. That's quite a bit of age difference there.
Yeah.
All right. So how old are your stepkids?
So my stepdaughter is 7 and my stepson is 4. He's going to be 5 in December.
A Christmas baby.
Yes. He gets extra spoiled that time of year.
Well, see, my birthday's in December and it kind of sucks.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I mean, I could see how that would be a thing.
Everybody will go, oh, here's your birthday and Christmas present.
We're just going to 2 in 1.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, that's not fair. So I've decided that I'm going to move my birthday.
You know what? Do it.
I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to be a June baby.
I'm a July baby, so I definitely second that. I mean, you get to have pool parties.
Yeah, because you can't do anything in the wintertime.
No. I mean, you can build snowmen.
That's true, but not where I live. It rarely snows.
Oh.
Yeah, we live in South Carolina. If it snows here, everything shuts down, and I'm talking 1 inch of snow.
For real?
Yes, it's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't get much snow, but so how about your bio kids?
My oldest, he's 10. And then I have a 7-year-old little girl. And then we have an ours baby and he's 1.
And how often do you have your stepkids?
So my husband's schedule is a week on, week off.
Okay. And what about your bio kids?
At full time.
They don't see their other bio parent?
My son, he stays with his dad, primarily my oldest, because that's what he has chosen to do. And I'm totally going to respect that. My daughter, her dad is active duty. So he comes down as much as he can.
Okay.
But his work schedule is really challenging. So at every opportunity that, he's able to get leave, he'll either come down here and stay with us or I'll take her up there to where he is. Because I think that relationship is so important. So
Yeah. How far away does your bio son's father live from you?
30 minutes.
Okay. How often do you get to see him?
So we FaceTime pretty much like every day. And then with school right now, on the weekends, if he wants to come down, I'll go get him or his dad will bring him. But he's a preteen. So, parents aren't exactly the coolest people when you're that age. So
you're pretty flexible with that. You don't make him come if he doesn't want to and all that.
No. I mean, it's his time. It's not my time. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, but I know a lot of step parents, and I'm sure you've seen it in step family groups, where the kid is forced to go. It's okay, the court order says you're going to go, so you're going to go.
And I think that definitely depends on the type of relationship that the co-parents have. Because in tense situations, you absolutely, for the sake of, your sanity, you need to stick to that court order. But if you and your co-parent get along, then I definitely think that there's room for flexibility, and the child's needs do need to be taken into account.
I guess you have a good co-parenting relationship, it sounds like, with both of your kids' parents.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I grew up in a blended family as well.
Okay.
And so I was the child in a high conflict situation. So for me, when I became an adult, I determined that for my kids, just because, I wasn't with their father anymore, that doesn't mean that father is like invalid. He's not the kid's ex, he's my ex. And so we should work together and get past, whatever happened, because the kids are the only ones who are going to suffer if we can't grow up and act like adults.
Right. So how old were you when your parents split up?
Like 3.
And were you forced to go back and forth?
No, my dad was pushed out of the picture. This was, 20, 25 years ago, not to date myself. And the courts were a very different place than they are now. Now fathers do have, a fighting chance if they're willing to pay for it. Fathers do have a fighting chance. And back then, dads weren't given the same opportunity for parental rights. My dad was pushed away, and I respect his decision to walk away because my husband and I sometimes deal high conflict situations, and I can understand how for your sanity, you might just need to be like, okay, you know what? That's your decision. Let the kids know I love them, and I'll wait until they're bigger.
So what's your relationship like with your dad now?
We talk occasionally. My husband and I together, we have 5 kids, distance learning. So I'm lucky if I get to talk to him like once a week. And that's just because our schedules are crazy and he's working a lot. But previous to that, we were speaking pretty frequently.
Okay. So y'all got a good relationship, and you do understand why he didn't push to basically make your mom send you for visitation and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I definitely understand.
So did you have a stepdad?
I've had a couple of stepdads.
Okay. So what was your relationship like with your couple of stepdads?
So my first stepdad, awesome. Him and I still speak pretty frequently. And then when that relationship was ended, me and my siblings, I'm the oldest of like 8.
Holy moly.
Yeah, we were pushed away from stepdad.
Imagine that.
And as we got older, obviously we saw what was going on, and we're still pretty close to him. And then my current stepdad, we're all pretty close to, and we love a whole lot.
Okay, you're the oldest of 8.
Yeah.
Do you all have the same?
Oh no. I have one full sibling, I guess is what you would call it. And then I have, hold on, I got to use my fingers for this. 4, Jesus, that's a lot. Or 3, yeah. 3 half siblings that I share. Hold on, I'm going to have to say their names so I can count them.
Okay.
Okay, so I have 5 siblings that I share a mom with. And then I have 2 other siblings on my dad's side that I share a dad with. And then I have 2 other siblings that my most recent stepdad brought into the picture.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Wow. Okay. So what's your relationship like with your mom, knowing that basically when she's through with her husband, that she doesn't want you to have a relationship with him, whether it's your dad or your stepdad?
It presented a lot of challenges when I was younger, especially when I was like a kid, because, you need or you want as a child, or at least I did, that male figure.
Mm-hmm.
And when I became an adult, I noticed that I was having some issues in my relationship with her. And I went to therapy for 5 years, like twice a week to try to figure out if it was like my issue, if it was her issue, or what was going on, because I didn't know how to create that healthy family relationship, because I was definitely resentful of the fact that I wasn't allowed to have a dad. I mean, it messes with you.
Yeah.
So as I became, an adult, and I had my son when I was 19, obviously his dad and I didn't work out, but it was so important to me that I encourage him to have that relationship, right? Because a child should be able to love both their mom and their dad, and they should be encouraged to love both their mom and their dad, and the child shouldn't be shamed for that. And so that's something that I have continued to push with my son, my daughter, and with my bonus kids, because it's so important that there is an adult who's saying, it's okay if you love everybody, because you shouldn't have to choose. You're a child. That's not your job to choose. It's your job to play and learn. Like, that's it. So
yeah. So you refer to them as your bonus kids.
Yeah, they're my bonuses.
They're your bonuses. Now, do they call you their bonus mom?
So the title in the beginning caused a little bit of friction. I told the children, and my husband told the children, that they're free to call me whatever they want as long as it's respectful.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that little part in there.
So I get called everything from mom, mommy Kayla, or babe.
Babe.
Babe is by my 4-year-old stepson he's neurodivergent. And so sometimes concepts and things, it takes him a little bit longer to grasp. And he heard his dad call me babe all the time. And so now that's what he calls me.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, babe.
and then I tell him, I'm like, what, babe? And,
I bet if you're out in public and he goes, hey, babe, people are like, what?
Yeah. But I just, I'm pretty good at ignoring, like, when people are looking at us. I mean, when we go out and we have all the kids with us, we get looks. Like, it's rare to have families that big anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So
I remember when we would have the kids, piling out of the car, it's like people would be like, oh my gosh, how many more are there?
Right. Be like, wait, let me open the trunk. I'm sure there's a few more in there.
And you walk around counting.
Yes. We do what I call a duck line, because the kids love ducks. So I have them like line up behind me, and I make them all quack.
Oh,
and they have to count as they're quacking. That way I get to make sure that everybody's there. I haven't forgotten anyone yet. So, that's a good thing.
Oh my gosh. So what does the stepdaughter and your bio daughter, the 7, what do they think about the quacking?
They think that it's hilarious. And the only problem that I've run into is that because the girls are the same age, they try to get louder than each other, which is fine when we're not in a store. But I have been in Walmart and my girls have been screaming, quack, quack. And we're like in the fruit and vegetable section. And I'm like, guys, we gotta keep it down when we go outside. Y'all can be wild. And I mean, I definitely get some looks, but I just try to encourage them. They're young. Let them be silly.
That's hilarious. And I'm glad that they look at it as having fun.
Yes.
Not this crazy woman's making us quack.
No, I definitely quack with them. So, I mean, we got to get into it all together.
So it sounds like you have really good relationships with your stepkids.
Yes, now I do. It wasn't always that way.
So what changed?
Well, there was obviously, the very expensive drawn out court battle.
Mm-hmm.
And during the cause of that, while that was ongoing, my stepdaughter brought some things to my attention and to her dad's attention. We put her in therapy. And as she was explaining to us her thoughts, her feelings, we worked really, really hard to create that safe space for her, so that to let her know that no matter what she's being told, no matter what she hears, her dad and I are here for her and we love her. And if she wants to talk, we're going to listen. And if she wants space, we're going to support that. And we had to work really, really hard as a family unit to get us to where we are now. And there are days where it's definitely a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And, we call it, we're putting ourselves in timeout. So if one of us is having a day where we're just not feeling it, I'll tell the kids, I'm going to go put myself in timeout for a few minutes. Y'all don't bug me until the timer goes off. And I will come sit in my room and I will chill. And the girls have also picked up on that. So we also really we use our words for kindness. We use our hands for helping. And we really push being a team, because even if the kids aren't physically with us, we are still a family, and I really think it's important that they know, and all the kids involved know, that even if we're not physically together, like, we still have each other's backs and we're still a family unit.
Right. And I like that you put yourself in timeout.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If I want the kids to have good communication skills, if I want them to be able to name the emotions that they're feeling, then I have to model that. And it's really important for me, at least, that they see that example, because I don't want them to have to kind of get on the struggle bus and figure it out by the seat of their pants like I did. I want them to have better than what I had, and I want them to be better people than what I was, obviously, when I first started dealing with all of the childhood trauma and stuff that comes from being in a high conflict blended family situation.
So I take it that their bio mom is a little high conflict.
Yes.
Has that gotten better over time, or has it just gotten to where your stepdaughter is able to cope with it better?
It's gotten to where our stepdaughter is able to cope with it better.
Okay.
There's an incident yesterday. Well, we picked her up on Friday because we do week on, week off. And she was being weird. And I asked her, I was like, are you good? Do you need to talk? Like, what's going on? And she was like, I need to talk to daddy. And I was like, all right, cool. So she told her dad some things that her mom had made her promise not to tell me or her dad or her Nana. And she was just breaking down into tears. And she just said, I don't like keeping secrets. I shouldn't keep secrets. I told her, I was like, baby, your job is not to keep secrets. Your job is not to choose which parent you want to live with or any of that. Your job is to go to school, get good grades, be nice to your friends, work hard, and play. That's all you have to worry about. Everything else is for the adults.
It drives me nuts when parents do that. It puts kids in a horrible situation. Not only that, but it's teaching them to lie.
Yeah. And I was the child in that situation. So for me to see her having to go through that, it really, it frustrates me to no end. Because I think that even if you don't like your ex, you need to get over it. And you need to work together for the sake of your children. And in some situations, you simply can't. You can't do that. And it just blows my mind that there are parents that are so selfish that they would put their child through that and make them feel this upset because they don't want the other parent to know. Like, I think that there's a different way that you can approach that with your child instead of just saying you have to keep it a secret. When my husband and I get ready to do things or go on trips, we simply don't mention it. I mean, granted, my bonus kids are only here half the time, so we do have that luxury. Mm-hmm. But I just think that asking the child to keep a secret, I don't know. I definitely agree. I think that there's a balance. I just don't know where the balance is.
Yeah, because if you're asking them to keep a secret, I automatically kick in to that's mental abuse.
Yes.
Because that's like a child predator doing something to your kid and them telling them to keep it a secret. There's no good in keeping secrets.
No. But I also think that there are a lot of high conflict parents. And I think that it makes the other parent, the ones who are willing or trying to co-parent, I think that it makes their jobs a lot harder. Mm-hmm. Because you're essentially having to do the work of, two people, because one of them is just like so hell bent on destroying the other parent. And then that puts the child in a loyalty bind. Mm-hmm. But I mean, a child in a loyalty bind does not thrive. Right. So I think that there needs to be more education available for parents who are, separating, going through a divorce, whatever the case may be. And I think that family therapy, like communication therapy, also could be really beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. My son's father and I do not communicate at all. We do not communicate well. We didn't when we were together. We basically parallel parent. And thankfully, my son's old enough now to where he can handle the conversations of asking his dad if he can come, a little bit later or a little bit earlier one day, rather than me trying to get involved. But I know from the very beginning, he's also been, don't tell your mama. Don't tell your mama. And you're right. It causes conflict in that child's head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right now, my husband parallels parents with his ex, and my stepkids are 7 and 4, and the 4-year-old is neurodivergent. And that makes it very challenging for him. His schedules and things need to remain the same. We have to be consistent, and he receives services in the home and at school. And so it's really hard to make sure that both households are on the same page when one person is attempting to communicate and all they get in response is like hostility.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blows my mind.
Yeah, because it's not about him or her. It's about the kid.
Yeah. And the child is the only one who's going to pay the price. But I mean, if both parents aren't willing to, work together, because all it takes is one parent who's decided that they're going to be bitter and hateful and angry. And then there's no way that you can co-parent.
Right. Yeah.
And so, my husband does occasionally do the family counseling with his ex, and it normally ends up with her screaming and yelling for 15 minutes. And the therapist just sitting there like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
So how does your stepdaughter and your bio daughter get along considering they're the same age?
Oh, okay. So I've decided that sisters are like weird because 1 minute, let me tell you, 1 minute these girls are going to be like, oh yeah, no, let me wear that dress from your closet. And then, they're swapping clothes, whatever. And then the next minute they've decided that they are arch enemies. Like these girls, they are inseparable constantly, but then they have their little spats and it makes me laugh because they are two peas in a pod all the time.
But you've got sisters, right?
Oh yeah. I have a 22-year-old sister and I have an 8-year-old sister.
Girl.
Uh-huh.
This just gets more and more interesting. You have an 8-year-old sister.
Yeah.
Full-blooded sister?
We share a mom.
Okay. Good Lord, your mama's still having babies?
Yeah. I think she's done now.
Holy moly. Well, you're young, so it's not like you're 45 yourself and your mom's 65 having babies, but...
No. I'm only 29.
So you have a child that is a year younger than your sibling?
Yes.
Wow. So it would probably be more like, how does your sister get along with your kid?
Yeah. The expectations are very different at my house versus my mother's house or versus my bonus kids' mother's house. So here we are really big on personal responsibility, respecting your space, respecting everybody around you, and not all households have that level of expectation. So when they come here and they make a mess, and they don't get in trouble when they make a mess, but they do need to clean it up. Mm-hmm. Not all households have that expectation. So it can be kind of shocking for a child, especially when the consequences are the natural consequences, or they lose a privilege, or, they get another chore added. That can be shocking. So my little sister does not really enjoy coming.
Of course not.
To my house because the expectations are clear. My husband and I have worked very hard to establish those boundaries and those routines and those expectations. So they have to stay the same for no matter who's in the house.
Yeah, because before you threw me off with having that you have a sister that's 8, I was going to say, well, your relationship with your sister is probably similar because my oldest sister and I would fight like cats and dogs. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it was one of those things too where nobody else could talk crap about her.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's my sister. How dare you?
Yes. My 21-year-old little sister and I are very close. We talk all the time. She's actually going to be the first one in my family to graduate from college with a bachelor's degree.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm super proud of her. So when she comes down from college, she'll raid my closet, and then she'll, of course, I'll raid her closet because she has sometimes not always, but she has cute clothes. And, they just magically find their way into my closet.
Yeah, until she gets mad at you and then she's like, you stole my shirt.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a blue dress. I lived in Germany for about 4 years, and there's this blue dress that I picked up while I was over there. And it's funny because when she comes down, she'll try to like steal it. And then when I go up to see her, I'll try to like steal it back. And sometimes we'll catch the other person wearing it on FaceTime. They're like, isn't that my dress? And it's just like, oh, it's a whole joke.
I love it. So with your stepkids and your bio kids, how do they do with transitioning back and forth?
Oh,
Well, your bio daughter, she doesn't have any consistency because of her dad's schedule. But what about the stepkids? How do they do transitioning? Do you notice that when they come back, there's a day or two that takes them to kind of get back in the swing of things?
So my bonus son is neurodivergent. So there are some extra challenges that come with him transitioning. And because of the things that are being said, and because of the things that the stepkids experience, the weekend, we get them on Friday. So either on Saturday or Sunday night, one or both of them will wake up in the middle of the night and puke all over their bed.
Oh my gosh.
And they are stressed. They're trying to calm down and relax, right? So that happens. And we normally have one day, maybe not even a full day, but we do have a day where there's a bunch of challenging behaviors. So we reestablish the boundaries, we go over the house rules, and then generally it's fine. But there is definitely a struggle when it comes to transitions. But when the schedule was changed to what it is now, that cut down on the challenges a lot.
Yeah, that's horrible though.
And with COVID, we did have them in therapy. But then with COVID, everything shut down. So as soon as we can get the therapist office to open back up in person, we're going to put them back in therapy just to make sure that they have those extra tools, to help cope with or to help explain or give names to what they're feeling and what they're experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm glad that you put them in therapy for those purposes.
Yeah. I mean, if as an adult, like therapy has been the single most helpful thing that I've ever done for myself. And so I definitely, I ask the kids, are you guys feeling? Do I need to call somebody? Because I think that once they have those tools, they have them for forever. And it's going to benefit them now and then through the rest of their school career and then as an adult as well.
Right. Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. You said that you have rules in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has responsibilities. Did you come in being strict and parenting your stepkids, or was your husband already that way and you just kind of enforced it?
So when I came in, there was very few rules and there was very few expectations. I practiced gentle parenting and that was not something that was being practiced. So when I came in, I did not immediately try to quote unquote parent my bonus kids because that's not my role. But I did sit down with my husband and I explained to him, look, I was a single mom for a couple of years at this point. And I was like, this is how I expect a house to be ran. These are the same rules that my bio daughter and my bio son have. Mm-hmm. In order for our household to run smoothly, I think that these rules need to be the same across the board. What do you think? And him and I had a discussion. It definitely got a little heated the first few times, and we had to table the discussion and come back to it later. But eventually we worked out a method that works well for us. So what I do is my husband works nights. So right now with schools being shut down, most of the parenting and those kind of responsibilities fall on me. So the kids know their expectations. I ask them, I double check. Hey, did you shower? Did you do your homework? Blah, blah, blah. They'll generally tell me yes. And then if I get any pushback, anything like that, I don't pursue it. Mm-hmm. I simply just say, okay, I'll let your dad know when he gets up. And then I go back about my day because I don't feel like I'm not the kid's mom. I'm not trying to be their mom. I'm more like the fun aunt who is also a trusted confidant who will advocate for them.
Right.
So I make sure that, if there's things that need to be corrected, I obviously, let my husband know. But I personally don't do the disciplining for my bonus kids.
So you nacho that part?
Yes, absolutely. There were some accusations that were made. And I don't even use corporal punishment with my own children. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, I told my husband, I said, I'm not comfortable doing any type of disciplining. I can definitely just let natural consequences happen, but I will not be disciplining, period.
Right.
And at first he was mad. He was mad. But I explained to him that I don't expect him to discipline my bio kids. So he can't expect me to discipline his. And I told him that if these wild accusations continue, then I will take another step back because I love him and I love my bonus kids, but I have to protect my biological kids.
Right.
So, it kind of is what it is. I mean, sometimes it gets weird because we're like three different families, like all squished together. And sometimes you can see that like in like our dynamic of how we interact. And then sometimes we're all just, one big family. But I think that when it comes to disciplining and stuff like that, I think that is my husband's responsibility, not mine.
I'm so glad you said that about sometimes that you're three different families. And that's okay.
Yeah.
People are so hell-bent on we've got to be one big happy family all the time. No,
I don't even like my family all the time. Like, no.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned gentle parenting. Explain to our listeners what gentle parenting is.
So my understanding of gentle parenting is that we don't do spanking. We don't do like tapping on the hand if a child messes up. Instead, let's say we'll use my son. He's a year and a half old. Let's say that he is getting himself a cup of water because he does this. I also encourage independence. And he knocks the cup off the counter or whatever, and it falls and it shatters. A lot of parents will get mad at their child. And instead what I do is I say, it's all right, let's clean it up and we'll get you a new cup. And just like that, we just clean it up and we just get them a new one. If the kids make a mess, okay, go ahead and wipe that up and then mop that area so it doesn't get sticky. And we really, really encourage the kids to have communication with us. So on some of our house rules, we have flexibility. So bedtime at our house is 8 p.m. sharp, period, dot. However, on the weekends, the kids presented a very good case to my husband and I that they should be able to stay up until 9:30. And we decided, what, the kids were right. And as long as they, the next day on Saturday, they had good attitudes, we could continue doing this.
Right.
And I think it's giving the kids also a voice in the family unit and just instead of just kind of expecting them to follow the rules because these are little like adults, they're little humans. I mean, I think that it's unfair that us as adults, a lot of times we expect the kids to act perfect and to, not get frustrated or have an attitude all the time because, I get an attitude. Like, it happens. So I think it's just really important to encourage that kind of communication.
It's so funny. We expect the kids to behave, not have uncontrollable emotions and all this stuff when we can't even do that sometimes. Exactly.
So like timeout, that's where timeout comes in handy. Mom's putting herself in timeout,
yes.
And thankfully the kids are modeling that behavior, but it is not the norm. So
yes, I'm going to start telling my husband I'm going to time out.
Exactly. And tell him bring you some wine or whatever. Like
I'm not a drinker though, so I'd probably be passed out in half a glass.
All right, no wine in timeout then.
Yeah, no wine for you, Lori. So what would you say is your biggest struggle? I want to say in your blend when you were growing up, because I know the answer, but I just want you to kind of clarify it. And then the same, what's the biggest struggle in your blend now with your stepkids and bio kids?
So my biggest struggle when I was a child was not understanding why my dad was being denied. And not understanding why I was being told, he doesn't love me. He started a new family. When on the same hand, he would send me Christmas presents, but then the Christmas presents would disappear.
Oh, gosh.
And that was my biggest struggle, trying to justify why the actions didn't match the words, And when I came into the picture, I had already worked out my co-parenting relationship. And my husband explained to me that this is going to be challenging. And I naively thought, no, why? Like, it's so much easier when everybody gets along. Like, we want to go on a trip. Okay, like, let's just see if, the other party wants the kids or what. Like, maybe we'll get some extra alone time, And seeing that my situation was not unique when I was a child and watching my stepkids being told things that children should not hear, should not even know. And just like watching their childhood like die in their eyes. I know that sounds so dramatic, but like just watching them just like have all of these feelings and them, being put in the middle when there's no reason for it.
Right.
To me, that's the worst because I know what that feels like for them. And I know I'm just the stepmom, but I don't want them to feel like that. Like they're loved and they are cherished. And so it just breaks my heart when I see them, going through the same thing that I went through.
Right. It's hard.
Yeah.
But the good thing is you have been there. So you know how to help them.
Oh yeah. And I'm honestly going to brag about my ex-husband for a second, which I know is probably weird, but his family has accepted my bonus kids to the point that his mom sends the kids advent calendars, Christmas gifts. She offers to take them in the summer when she takes my bio daughter. And so I think that the kids seeing that there is another way and that it's not just us parents, but also the grandparents that are getting in on just loving and celebrating all the kids, regardless of their relation. I think that does also really help them.
Right. That's awesome. And how does your husband feel about your exes?
How does he personally feel? Or
yeah, I mean, does he appreciate that you do co-parent with them so well, considering that he struggles so much with his ex?
I think that in the beginning he was shocked. When I told him, hey, my daughter's dad has leave this day. He's going to come down and stay with us because he can't afford a hotel room.
And he's thinking, excuse me, what did you say?
Yeah, no, that's what he looked at me and he said, no. And I was like, yes, this is what we're doing because this is what's best for my daughter. So you're either going to get with it or we're going to have a problem. And he got with it. And now when my ex comes down, when my daughter's dad comes down, they normally go out and barbecue together and bro it up.
Huh?
And then my son's dad, he came to get my son last night, and my husband called him and he's like, man, we got some fried chicken. You want some fried chicken? And my son's dad goes, no. And then he showed up to get him, and he comes in the house and he goes, I thought you said it's fried. It smells like curry. And I was like, bro, it's fried chicken. It's not curry chicken tonight. So, I mean, he now gets along. But he was definitely shocked in the beginning that we could all just get along. And, it's about the kids, not about us.
Oh, yeah. But I'm going to tell you right now, if David told me, oh, yeah, the ex is going to come stay with us to see the kids, she can't afford a hotel room. I'm like, oh, yes, she can. We just scheduled one for her. How long does she need to stay?
How long she need to stay?
The Motel 6 is ready for the ex.
And I mean, however your family does it, if it works for y'all, it works for y'all.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that it's honestly a large guessing game and everybody's just trying to do their best.
Yes. But I'm so glad that y'all have that relationship.
Yeah, we fought hard for that.
Mm-hmm.
There were times where me and my daughter's dad, we would fight and we would, it was definitely ugly before it got better. And then one day my daughter was crying and she was just like, Mom, I just want to go with everybody. I just want to go shopping for my birthday. And when she said that, I kind of looked at her and I was like, you know what, baby, you're right. And I called her dad and I was like, I don't like you right now. And I know that you don't like me right now. And he goes, no, I don't like you. And I was like, cool, we're on the same page. But for our daughter, we need to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, can we just be mad? And I was like, no, that benefits no one, man.
Right.
And so, I mean, we slowly established that we were a team, but it did not happen overnight. That was a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But now we get along.
That's good.
Yeah.
You had to go through those growing pains.
Yes. My ex's girlfriend, she is amazing. And she came down for the first time to meet my daughter. And my daughter goes, I have a stepmom now. And she ran up to her and she goes, I'm going to call you stepmom A. And, my ex's girlfriend, she turned pale and she was like, oh my God. I was like, bro, it's cool with me if it's cool with you. And so just welcoming other people in too, I think is important because you could never have too many people to love a child because raising kids is hard.
Right.
And the more people the child has in their corner, the better.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Does your husband's ex, is she in another relationship?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious because I know a lot of the times the high conflict bio mom quits being as so high conflict when she ends up in another relationship?
She got married.
Okay.
And she seems pretty content with that. However, when her spouse isn't around or when she's fighting with her spouse, my husband gets the brunt of that. And I tell him, do not engage unless it's about the children. Period. Dot. If she has something to say, it needs to be about the kids. Only respond to the part that is about the kids because we don't have time for that.
Right. Don't let people steal your joy.
Exactly, right? Like, just because somebody else is miserable doesn't mean you need to go down to like a miserable valley with them. Continue being happy. Sprinkle joy like confetti. Like, there's not enough of it, so just spread it whenever you can.
Well, I do want to ask you one more thing before we wrap up. You were talking about if a child knocks a glass off the counter and it breaks. Just saying, oh, it's okay. It was an accident. How do you not get mad? Because I know a lot of people do blow up. Oh my gosh, you broke my glass or you made a mess and I don't have time to deal with it right now. It's like people are so stressed that slightest little thing just pushes them over the edge. And pre-Nacho, I know I was a lot more apt to get upset over spilled milk, for lack of a better word. But I've learned to look at it for what it is. It's something that wasn't intentional. It can be cleaned up in 5 minutes and forget it, move on with your life, or you can be mad about it for 3 days. That choice is yours.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you look at it because I know you have to get stressed at times.
Oh.
So say you're in a bad mood and little Susie just spills a can of ravioli all over your brand new white tablecloth. After you put yourself in timeout, what do you do?
I was like, I look at the mess and I immediately go to timeout for a few minutes. So I'll come back in the kitchen or the dining room and I'll be like, okay, so what happened? Were you trying to make yourself some food? Were you trying to get something for your sibling? What was going on? And then, me and the child will have a discussion and then I'll be like, okay, well, we need to clean it up. So we're going to have to put the tablecloth in the washing machine. If it's white, then we're going to have to add a little bit of bleach. And what can we do to make it easier so that you can get the raviolis next time?
Right.
And that's it, because I don't get mad at myself when I make a mess, right? I just wipe it up. It's fine. It's whatever.
Sometimes I get mad at myself when I make a mess. I'm like, dang it.
I'm already, though, a freakishly clumsy person. Like, I cannot stress that enough. I run into the automatic the automatic doors at Walmart. Okay. That's how clumsy I am. So for me, messes are like, it's just a part of my life. And so I just try to hold the kids like to the same standard that I hold myself. Like, oh, it's a coffee cup. It's all right. We'll go to the Habitat for Humanity Restore or Goodwill and we'll go see if we can find an even cooler, more unique one.
There you go.
And it's, I just try to give them grace. I mean, I do get frustrated, but I put myself in timeout. I take a deep breath, and I definitely think going to therapy for all that time helped me learn how to keep my temper in check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll tell people, you almost have to think to extremes. So for instance, if you're mad that little Johnny took a marker and wrote on the back of your couch, step back, put yourself in timeout for a minute.
Yes.
And remind yourself that the good thing is it's on the back of the couch, not the front. The second thing is be thankful little Johnny is healthy enough to go mark on the couch, because a lot of kids are in wheelchairs, are so sick they can't even get out of bed. And when you put things into that perspective, it doesn't seem to impact you as hard.
Yeah.
I know that sounds extreme.
I don't think so. And I think that also how much worth you place on your material possessions also falls into that, right? So I thrift everything, by the way. So I thrifted some beautiful, beautiful leather chairs. And my daughter decided that she was going to write all over them with silver Sharpie. And she wrote her name and she was so proud, right? And I walked into the playroom. I saw what she was doing. And I said, what is going on? And she dropped the marker and I looked at her and I said, baby, I can't with you. I'm going to be back in a minute. And I left the room and then I came back and she was, sitting quietly. I was like, what were you doing? You have paper. What? Why? And she goes, Mommy, I just wanted to make it pretty for you. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And to this day, I left that spot on the chair because it may not be my idea of what is nice and what is, pretty, but she took the time to try to make something nice.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, I almost blew a gasket, though, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I do think that the child's intention matters because there are some kids who just want to destroy things.
Oh, yeah.
And, luckily, I am blessed. None of my children are like that. And to all the moms who have children like that, y'all are the real MVPs because, yeah.
Yeah, I can see it now. 5 years from now, your daughter looks at the chair and be like, who wrote on the chair?
I'm going to be like, you did. Now you get to use it in your first apartment. Surprise.
Yeah, but we had gotten hardwood floors put down and they were really nice, and new things stress me out because I don't want them to get damaged. So my son went to go show somebody some of the smell good stuff we had for the dog, and he went to open it to let them smell it instead of spraying it on them.
Yeah.
And it spilled on the floor. Sure enough, it fell right in between the two little cracks to where it made the wood swell up in one little spot. For probably a month, it drove me crazy. But now when I look at it, I choose to remember that we had friends over at that time and Jackson was trying to show them something nice rather than, oh my gosh, look at the imperfection on the floor. It's driving me crazy. If you change how you look at things, your life will be so much better.
Exactly.
And the same thing, we had a light. My nephew was here and one of David's kids was here and they wanted to wrestle. Well, of course, have at it. Have a blast. Well, my stepson picked up my nephew and had his feet up in the air and they knocked the ceiling fan light and it shattered. Well, it chipped the floor. Well, again, I was like, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, it was an accident.
Yeah.
But now I look at it and I remember them fighting and how much fun it was watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't have memories and have a perfect Better Homes and Gardens house.
Oh, no. And I'd much rather have a very imperfect house and have be able to look at the walls and, say, oh my God, this was where, my daughter's first picture was at. And you could see where she tried to expand on it or, yeah.
And with us, it's more like, oh, look, that's where Branson rammed Ethan's head into the wall. How sweet. When he comes back over, let's measure your head. Does it still fit?
Put a frame around it and label it,
That is a perfect idea. That's what I'm going to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do. But life is so short to be miserable. And nobody wants to be miserable all the time. If you're miserable, your kids are going to be on edge. Your husband's going to be on edge. And you're just going to be uptight all the time.
Yeah, definitely. The best thing you can do is laugh.
Yeah.
Laugh about it.
And if you want nice stuff, wait till your kids move out. But then when your grandkids come, you're going to have to put it back up.
Exactly.
So just remember that.
Thrift everything. That way, if something gets ruined, it's not a big deal.
Yes, you would not believe. I have a couch that I love that I've had forever. The reason I've had it forever is because I've taken very good care of my couch.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first got it and people would come over to the house and they would sit there and they would have a drink. I'm like, you cannot drink on my couch. They're like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm dead serious. If you want to drink, you get up and go sit in a different chair or you go to the kitchen. And I remember a friend of mine got mad at me. She said, you and your Martha Stewart flipping couch. But you know what? That couch still looks good. It's probably 20 years old.
That's awesome. I'm glad that your couch has survived for 20 years.
You know what? Now that I think about it, it's probably closer to 24 years.
Oh, geez. Wow.
Yeah. Very impressive.
Yeah, that is very impressive.
Yes, I love my couch. It was like my baby until I had Jackson.
Aww.
And then he peed on it.
And then he peed on it.
And I didn't get mad at him.
Good.
Yeah, because that was my baby. I loved him more than I loved the couch. Yep, things can be replaced, but little babies can't.
Exactly.
Kayla, it has been great having you as a guest on our podcast, and I really appreciate you taking the time and telling us about your blend and your family and what you've learned being in a blend as a child and as an adult.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. And that Facebook group is amazing. And thank you for putting that out there, because when I was looking for resources, that's the first thing that I found.
Oh, well, I'm glad you found it. I know the Facebook group can be off the chain sometimes. I know that.
Yeah, it gets wild, but I mean, it is good.
Well, you just have to remember that a lot of these people are coming there and they're at their wits' end. They're ready to go run their car off a bridge because of their blend.
Yep. And for them to have that space where people who have decided to nacho and disengage from certain things can be like, it's okay, because you can take that step back, and you're not any less of a person or any less of a stepmom, because you need to protect your sanity first.
Right.
And to know that that's there is amazing.
Well, I'm so glad you found it.
Yes.
And I'm glad your husband doesn't freak out anymore about it.
No, not anymore.
It just scared him for a little while because he's thinking, what? You're not going to help me ever? I'm going to have to raise these kids by myself.
That's exactly what he thought. Yep.
Yeah, they think we're going to abandon them. The kids spill something on the floor, be like, oh, not my kid.
Not my kid, not my problem.
The toilet's overflowing. Oh, Nacho. Hey, you know what? We should all get a maid, kind of like Alice in the Brady Bunch, but name it Nacho.
You know what? I think that that's an amazing idea. We could call it the Nacho Maid Service.
There you go. I love it. Yeah. Somebody's going to have to start a Nacho Maid Service because I'm not cleaning anybody else's house.
No, I don't got the time for that. But that is a great idea.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great? You know, the kids comes to you and they said, I'm hungry. You'd be like, Nacho. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thank you again, and you have a great day, and keep in touch.
Yes, ma'am. I hope you have a good day too.
You too. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So as Kayla and I were talking, we were talking about that everybody needs a maid.
Yeah.
And that we need to start Nacho Maid Service.
Nacho Maid Service.
And that way you can have a maid at the house, or like an Alice, just say. And the kid says, I'm hungry. You say, Nacho. And Nacho whoops up some food.
You look and go, I'm Nacho Maid.
No,
I guess you'd say I'm not Nacho Maid. You have to get to the Nacho Maid.
Go ask Nacho.
Go ask the Nacho.
Like a genie.
Yeah. I just don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, Kayla also practices gentle parenting. I wish someone would have taught my mom that, because she was not a gentle parenter.
I can imagine if I had to raise you as a kid, I would probably not be as well.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What are you saying?
So next question.
Apparently, at the early age of 3, my daddy would not stop at the store and let me get a prize. So when we got home, I kicked a rock at him. And he looked at me and said, why did you do that? And I said, I wish that rock would have killed you.
Good grief.
And I love my daddy, y'all.
At 3?
Yeah.
They should have committed you.
Probably.
Good grief.
And then I remember this too. It's funny. You know, the trucks, how they have the campers on the back that you open the glass up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, my dad had a truck, and I was, I don't know, maybe 9, 10. And my little sister was 5 years younger. And we had those, I think they're called river rocks. They're smooth, but they're kind of big.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on the bumper of the truck, and the glass part was down. Well, she threw it at my head. And I ducked, and it skinned the top of my head, and it shattered the glass in the back of the truck.
Ooh.
And so when she went to get in trouble, she said, it's not my fault. She moved. Yeah, we were some bad kids. And I used to always threaten to run away. And so my little sister would be like, no, don't leave me. I love you, Lolo.
Poor thing. No wonder she's so messed up.
Yeah.
That's why she won't leave home. She's scared to be alone.
Maybe that's it. That's it. I did it.
Yep.
It had nothing to do with my mama saying she's never going to leave us. So anyway, the gentle parenting, I don't know a lot about it, obviously. It sounds all fine and dandy. So check it out. It might be good for you. Not for your stepkids, for your bio kids. Remember.
It's gentle not parenting.
Right. If you nacho, you don't parent those stepkids. All right, David, you got anything else you want to tell our wonderful listeners today?
No, I don't think so. So join us next week when you will hear another outstanding episode. And as always, remember, life is good
when you nacho.
Thanks Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nacho Kids Podcast. Find us online at nachokids.com. Until next time, remember, life is good when you nacho.